Hi, it's Ariella back with another episode of Ariella University. I'm going to teach you today, I'm not touching my face. I'm going to teach you today to make sort of a basic beef stew, not really stew, more like this is how I sort of do all of my undecided meat dishes in the crock pot. So those of you who have a crock pot and you've never used it and you're like, what the heck do I do with this giant thing? This is a super easy recipe and really yummy. I'm gonna make like a tomato-based meat dish that when it is done, we will serve with rice and veggies and have a nice balanced dinner. So, and it makes good leftovers too. And you don't really have to do anything. So first thing is your crock pot. I have a 6-quart crock pot, but there are all kinds of sizes. I really don't pay attention to that because I'm not really measuring. So we're gonna start, I'm gonna just put everything in there as we go. I'm gonna start with meat that I actually defrosted yesterday, which is why it's already like kind of bloody, but it's all right, it's fine. It's still actually a little bit frozen. It is I think it was like a sirloin tip that I got from the store, and I'm going to estimate that's maybe 3 pounds-ish. But again, I've done this with brisket, cuts of brisket. I've done this with roasts. I've done this with sirloin and London broil, like kind of anything, especially like a tougher meat that you might want to cook longer. You're going to want to use that. So you can do any of those things with this recipe. They come out really yummy. So again, you guys just saw me use a plastic bag. You know my shame. When I'm freezing stuff, I do use the Clorox wipes for it because, or the Clorox wipes. See, I'm in pandemic mode. Clorox wipes. When you are freezing things, I do use the bags, and I don't tend to reuse the ones that had meat in them or any kind of like fatty thing because it's just too hard to clean them, but I limit it to that. So anyway, we've got about 3 pounds of meat in here. I'm gonna salt it. I use kosher salt just because I watched a lot of cooking shows and that's what they do, so that's what I do. I just did like a big pinch, sprinkled it on. You can always add more afterwards, but I do like to add it while it's cooking because it seems to sink into the meat more than just on the sauce. I'm going to add an onion. I usually feed my scraps of my onions to my worm composting area, but the worms are a little overfed right now for some, like we were getting rid of stuff in the garden and they have a lot of food. So this might end up just in the compost or in the trash. I do have chickens. They do not eat onions, so I don't give it to them. You could quarter this onion and throw it in if you didn't want to pick it back out again. I like to dice the onion for this kind of thing because it then, with the long, slow cook, it tends to sort of fall apart in the sauce and it thickens the sauce and just makes it more savory and delicious, and especially since we'll be serving this with rice, being able to have like a little bit of extra sauce to go on the rice is super yummy. So, but it doesn't need to be a fine chop. And you can see I'm not using the right kind of knife. I'm using like basically a bread knife to cut this onion for a couple reasons. For one, our knives are in desperate need of getting sharpened. They are so dull. And somewhere packed away in my kitchen construction craziness is a knife sharpener, but I don't know where it is. And this is a relatively new knife, so it's actually like quite sharp. And for this one, it doesn't matter all that much because with this diced onion, like I don't need it to be tiny, tiny. I don't have picky eaters that are gonna freak out about a little bit of onion in their food. So I've got a diced onion. You can do small, big, whatever, doesn't matter. It's going in on top. Okay. And then we're gonna go ahead and add, I'm gonna laze out today, and instead of using my dried regular, not dried, but like fresh garlic, I'm gonna use this, my giant container of garlic here. Just a little, well, no, not a little bit. I like a good amount of garlic. So just a spoonful throwing that in. You don't have to worry about like mixing it up. It all kind of happens once it starts cooking. I'm going to add some tomato sauce. Now, if we weren't in the middle of a global crisis, I might add 2 cans of tomato sauce. But right now, since we are trying to conserve and ration out what we're using, I'm only going to use 1 can of tomato sauce. But because I still want it to be saucy, I'm actually going to add some water to the can. I usually add a little bit, no matter, even if we're not in a pandemic, just because I don't like to waste. But I'm going to add a little bit more than I would otherwise. The sauce might be thinner, but it is going to, it will be still delicious. And so that's what we're worrying about. I'm going to use that same spoon to kind of just mush it around a little bit. I don't need it to be crazy well mixed, but you can come and look. I actually have a camera person today. So you can come and look and see what it looks like. Just raw onions and the meat and all of that. So I'm going to turn this on. I'm going to cook it on high until the meat falls apart, and then I can turn it off. If I wasn't going to be home, I would have put it on low and let it go for hours and hours and hours. On high, it will take probably 4 to 5 hours because it is thawed meat. You can also do this with frozen meat. You can also do this in the Instant Pot, but I don't know timing on that as well. So we're just going to do this. And I don't really have a name for it. Beef and tomato sauce. Does that sound good? I think so. All right. So enjoy it and be careful out there and learn to do something new today. All right. Bye.